Today on Monkey Life, we're in Vietnam to rescue two rare pygmy loris stolen from the forest.
It's daylight, they're awake and they should be sleeping.
But a health check gives cause for concern.
At the moment, we're kind of hoping for a miracle. Otherwise, she's not going to make it back in the wild.
Plus, family planning for golden-cheeked gibbon, Binh.
This is going to help her for her next step.
This is Dao Tien Rescue Centre in Vietnam. It's the sister sanctuary of Monkey World in Dorset, and the staff here dedicate their lives to rescuing and rehabilitating endangered Vietnamese primates.
It's a new forest with a new family group of gibbons coming, and hopefully everybody will grow up and mature together.
It's a 6,000-mile journey from the UK to the centre, which lies 160 miles northeast of the capital, Ho Chi Minh City. Vietnam in Southeast Asia is a densely populated country. An estimated 90 million inhabitants are crammed into this small country. But outside of the noise and bustle of the cities, it's a different story. It's one of the world's richest agricultural regions, and rice fields are abundant. Vietnam is the world's 7th largest consumer of rice, the staple diet of its people. But like many countries, Vietnam struggles with the illegal trade in wildlife. Poaching and smuggling are common, and the law is difficult to enforce. And this is where Dao Tien comes in. It's an island in the Dong Nai province, set up with the full cooperation of the Vietnamese government in 2008 to protect some of the country's most endangered species, including golden-cheeked gibbons, black-shanked Duke langurs, and pygmy loris, a tiny nocturnal primate. But unlike Monkey World, Dao Tien is not designed to provide a home for them for the rest of their lives.
The goal of Dao Tien is to support the Vietnamese government to rescue primates, increase the capacity for primate care, bring the primate care to an international standard, and then develop protocols to get these individuals back into the forests for them to survive and to contribute to wild conservation by going out there and having babies and breeding.
Dao Tien is a 56-hectare island. At its centre are the recently rescued, or Phase 1 animals. Here there are assessment units for the loris and gibbons where staff can check their health, socialise them and increase their weight and strength before they go into the larger forested areas. These form Phase 2, and there are 4 such regions on the island. This is where the gibbons go to gain true fitness before hopefully being released into the wild. At present, the centre is home to 30 gibbons and 27 loris. But today, that number is set to increase. The manager of Dao Tien is Lee Butler, who previously worked at Monkey World. He's just received a phone call from a local man on the mainland who wants to surrender 2 pygmy loris. He's been keeping them as pets, but after a neighbour's animals were seized, realised it wasn't allowed.
He heard of the confiscation and basically realised he'd got 2 pygmy loris illegally and he wanted to donate to the island. So that's where we're off to now.
In Vietnam, loris are primarily hunted for the pet trade, but also for traditional medicine, and even to be shown off as tourist attractions.
Xin chào, khỏe không?
Khỏe.
Tốt, tốt. Very well. Very well, OK.
But in recent years, the Vietnamese government has become more proactive in clamping down on this illegal trade. They're enforcing the law and making more confiscations. Poachers are being given large fines and even jail sentences as a deterrent.
I don't know much about the loris that we're collecting. Don't know how old they are, what condition they're in. So when we get there, we'll speak to the chap, see when he got them, see what diet he's had them on. But hopefully with the health checks and looking at dental issues, we should be able to estimate hopefully an age for them.
But when they arrive at their destination, Lee's not happy with what he finds. The loris are in a tiny cage in broad daylight with no shelter from the sun.
Just simply, we've got to do it as quick as possible, keep the stress levels down, get them into somewhere nice, dark. It's daylight, they're awake, and they should be sleeping.
Loris are nocturnal animals. During the daytime, they should be asleep in tree hollows.
Not there.
Lee has brought 2 separate boxes, one for each loris, and stuffed them with large leaves. This will keep them cool, but more importantly, keep them in the dark.
Got them into the cage, they went straight into it. It's dark, it's secluded. It should keep them nice and calm. So a little bit wet on their bodies, but, you know, let's get back them to Dao Tien now. We can get them into a cage, get them settled down, and then when the vets turn up, we can start doing our health checks.
Mr. Viet, Dao Tien's Vietnamese manager and a forest ranger in Cat Tien National Park, has accompanied Lee. He makes sure everything's in order and the paperwork transferring ownership signed.
Bao nhiêu tháng ở đây?
3 months.
3 months.
Yes,
Okay. So that they've been here 3 months, caught in the wild from a farm. So yeah, let's get them back to Dao Tien and start the rehabilitation process.
Back at Dao Tien, staff are preparing for the new arrivals. Malnourished loris cannot be released into the wild as they wouldn't survive, so their diets are managed very carefully. It's recently been discovered that tree gum gives them all the minerals they need and lots of nutrients. So the team are preparing logs stuffed with gum.
They don't particularly like eating banana every day, which is what happens sadly in the pet trade. They like tree gum. They gouge into trees and eat the gum, and it's really, really sticky. So nature, being wonderful, has evolved a small secondary tongue underneath the main one, and they use this like a toothbrush, so they actually can clean their teeth on the go. Perfect.
Lee is heading back to the island with the 2 rescued pygmy loris. For the time being, they're going into a temporary rehabilitation cage until the vet arrives to perform their health checks. Lee wants them relaxed and calm following the journey so they can get used to their new surroundings. These 2 need to get into a routine. Only when it starts to get dark will Lee give them food and insects to eat. The second loris clearly has a problem with its right eye, which will need to be checked by the vet later on.
They came out relatively quick, quite surprised to be honest, but the conditions that we got them from, they're awake anyway, so it's all new, it's all happening, you know, so it's just about now feeding them tonight, monitoring their food intake, gum and insects, and then see where we are over the next week or 2.
Nighttime on Dao Tien. And normally the only things stirring in the forest are insects and reptiles. But work goes on for the team, and Lee and the staff are making the first of 3 trips out this evening. It's at night that pygmy loris are wide awake. In the wild, it's their eating and foraging time, so the team stagger insect and gum feeds for them to mimic natural behaviour.
You got yours?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so if you do yours,
Yeah.
then I'll do the main cage and those 4 Claire Fung and the two new guys from that's here. Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. What we're giving now is a bit of fruit, bit of vegetable, a bit of nectar and some gum. So we're sort of all doing that now. Then later on, we'll come back out about 9 o'clock, do an insect feed, and then come back about 2 o'clock in the morning and do the final insect feed. So it's a sort of all-night thing, but we do that. We do it twice a week because we actually employ someone to do it for us, but obviously they need time off.
Their diet is tailored to what they would eat in the wild. Gum is full of the vitamins and nutrients they need to survive, and it's important that the routine they learn now will help them once released. Loris have adapted over time to the demands of the forest. They have a thick coat with sensory hairs that enable them to judge spaces, important at night, high in the tree canopy. Their eyes have adapted so they can see better in the dark, and they've developed defences against predators as well. They have glands on the inside of their elbow that secrete a rather nasty toxin that the loris lick. They only weigh 350 grams, and this toxin is one way of protecting themselves. The final loris needing feeding tonight are the two that were rescued earlier in the day. Until their health checks, the sex of these two is unknown, so the staff have been unable to name them. But like all loris, they're at their best at night and are making the most of what Lee has to offer. Since Monkey World's sister sanctuary Dao Tien opened 8 years ago, the team has managed to rescue, rehabilitate and release into the wild more than 20 pygmy loris, 4 black-shanked douglangers and 8 golden-cheeked gibbons. Dao Tien is very much a halfway house for the gibbons. The ideal scenario is to release them back to where they belong, but it's not always possible.
For gibbons, it's very hard. The rehabilitation process is something we have to do very carefully, and we're learning a lot as we go. We now know how to get gibbons tree fit, to get fit for release. We have 2 units of gibbons who are just amazing in the trees. So we've done the rehabilitation phase. Now we need to focus on the release site preparation. So we're looking for that release site that is the right habitat, has the right food, has the right space, and importantly, has the right protection. The rangers within that area are skilled, their capacity is good enough to deal with gibbons being reintroduced into that point, and that's what we're working on over the next year.
Sudden, thundery downpours are pretty normal in this part of the world. This morning, in the rain, the team are preparing to sedate one of the female gibbons, Binh. She currently lives with Tao, and together they make up Dao Tien's odd couple. Tao is a white-cheeked male gibbon, a species that's critically endangered. Binh is a female golden-cheeked gibbon. They currently live happily together in a large rehabilitation cage. The hope is that one day, Tao will be released into the wild in northern Vietnam, the habitat for his species. But for now, he enjoys life with Binh as his companion. However, as they're different species, they mustn't breed, so to prevent any unwanted pregnancies, Binh needs to have a contraceptive implant.
We're going to move these both to the semi-free enclosure at the top, the north of the island. She has to have an implant because she's golden-cheeked, he's a white-cheeked. So we've got to make sure that before we move them anywhere, we have control of birth control. So today, we have to try and get the implant into it. If not, we'll have to wait another time until we can actually catch her.
Savvy, a visiting vet from Ping Tung Rescue Centre in Taiwan, has been enlisted to perform the procedure and to give Binh an all-over health check as well. But first, they need to sedate her, and that's proving far from easy. Human contact with the primates is kept to a minimum, so Binh is wary. The only option for the team is to sedate her by blowpipe. But she's aware something's not right and is constantly on the move, making it hard for vet assistant Jessie to get a clean shot.
Jessie unfortunately missed. So what we're going to do, because she's getting a little bit stressed out, so what we're going to do now is put the small cage on the slide and we're going to try and get her that way. So we're all going to back away. I'm going to sit here, or Mr. Wan will stay here, one of the two of us, and then we're going to get her into the cage, into the net, hand inject, and then just get it done and dusted.
It's now a waiting game, as Lee and keeper Mr. Nguyen wait patiently for Binh to be tempted into the box. Safely secured, she's quickly injected.
Yeah. Okay.
We've injected her a couple of minutes ago. She's now going down, so we're keeping it all calm. Went very well, got into the cage, vet Mr. Wan. Nice injection, all very good.
Savvy is going to do the health check and implant in situ. She doesn't want to waste time transporting Binh over to the hospital, and because it should be a quick procedure, she's only had a light sedation. It's safer to keep her in the caged area. They immediately take a chance to check her weight, just under 8 kilograms. Next, Savvy starts checking Binh over. First her temperature, then blood samples are taken. And all the time, Jessie is keeping an eye on her vital signs. Finally, Savvy inserts the contraceptive implant between the shoulder blades, where Binh can't reach it. She's then given an injection to bring her round and put back in her box.
Achieve the goal we needed to achieve. This is going to help her for her next step, going out into the semi-free, out into the forest. You know, it's what we're here for, to give back what these guys have had taken away. It's vital that we do this. So, yeah. So we'll just leave her now, come back later, make sure she's okay, give her some food, give her some water, and then potentially put her back with Tio.
It's late afternoon and the rain has finally eased off. But for vet Savvy, her work for the day is far from over. In Dao Tien's primate hospital, she's preparing to check over the 2 new pygmy loris that Lee brought in yesterday. Marina and keeper Mr. Dong have gone to collect them, but overnight the condition of one of them has deteriorated. The loris has a significant eye infection and will need to be checked out first. Savvy wastes no time. As soon as the loris is under anaesthetic, it's quickly weighed.
260.
Next, they determine the sex.
She's a little girl, and we look at her teeth. She has all her teeth. So they're a little bit worn, so she's probably around 4 years of age.
It's a relatively young female loris, which the team immediately name Rachel. She's underweight, but it's her eyes that are causing concern.
She's in a very bad way. She's a third down on her body weight, and her eyes are in a bad state.
I think it's the trauma, so I don't think this eye can be healed.
So you think maybe she can still see a little bit through the left eye?
Yeah.
Rachel's right eye has suffered some sort of trauma that probably occurred whilst being hunted. But her left eye may respond to a new treatment recommended to Marina. It's a solution to treat damaged corneas.
It's incredibly expensive, but apparently it's wonderful. At the moment, we're kind of hoping for a miracle for her to be fit for release. This stuff has to work and we have to save one eye fully. Otherwise, she's not going to make it back in the wild.
With Rachel recovering in her box, the team start the health check on the other loris rescued yesterday.
Cho chạy đi. 300.
300 grams is still slightly underweight for a loris, but a lot healthier than Rachel's weight. It's also a female, which the team are quick to name Anne. She's in a lot better condition than Rachel, so the team can afford to take their time giving her a thorough examination. Dao Tien is only one of a handful of rescue centres that work with pygmy loris, so every bit of information they can collect is vital and helps them learn as much as possible about this vulnerable species.
And although she's slim, she has beautiful teeth, and they're all there. She has beautiful eyes with no damage. So at this point, it looks like she will be a really good release candidate. We can give her 3 to 6 months just to gain some weight. So hopefully at the end of the year, at the end of the dry season, we can let her go.
It's going to take a lot of hard work and dedication from all the staff, but it's what Dao Tien was set up to do. The rescue, rehabilitation and release of primates from southern Vietnam. And if things go well in the next few months, Anne the pygmy loris may well get the chance of living in the wild once more. Next time on Monkey Life. Rescued young golden-cheeked gibbons Vang and Hoi meet a role model who'll help them learn about life in the wild.
What we do in the next 6 months will decide their future.
And Lynn the loris has a big night out.